Imagine waking up tomorrow to a news alert so explosive it rewrites the global financial landscape. The Iraqi dinar has officially revalued, and the rate is not just a few cents, a figure that promises life-altering wealth for anyone holding the currency. Now picture this, a follow-up message pings on your phone, this one from a trusted source in a private investor group, claiming that Chase Bank has been secretly designated as the official redemption center for the United States, special windows already set up in major branches to handle the influx of millionaires. Your heart races because you've been holding dinar for years, waiting for this exact moment. This scenario, this electrifying promise, is circulating with ferocious intensity in online forums and social media groups right now, fueling dreams of private jets, paid-off mortgages, and philanthropic legacies. But before you rush to your safe to count your bills, or even more critically, before you consider buying more dinar based on this specific claim, you have to press pause and join me on a deep, unflinching journey into the truth. We are going to dissect the Chase Bank Dinar Redemption Center story piece by piece, separating verifiable fact from emotionally charged fiction, and analyzing what this narrative means for you as an investor and an observer of one of the most persistent financial rumors in modern history. The core of this idea hinges on a logical premise. If a revaluation were to happen, people would need a secure, trustworthy institution to exchange their suddenly valuable currency, and a giant like JP Chase, with its vast infrastructure, seems like a plausible candidate. This is where the story gains its surface-level credibility. Proponents of this theory point to Chase's international presence, its handling of foreign currency operations, and vague, unverifiable testimonials from supposed insiders who speak of trained tellers and fortified vaults ready for the event. They create a compelling tapestry of what if, weaving in enough real-world elements to make the fantasy feel imminent. The emotional pull is undeniable. It transforms an abstract financial event into a tangible physical location, a finish line you can literally drive to. This mental image provides a powerful sense of closure and validation for years of patience and investment. However, when we shift our gaze from the emotionally charged world of forums to the cold, hard reality of official statements and established banking protocol, the entire narrative begins to crumble like a sandcastle against the tide. There is not a single shred of official documentation, not one press release from JP Chase, the Federal Reserve, or the U.S. Treasury that even remotely suggests the bank has any such program in place. In fact, the official stance from large financial institutions on the Iraqi dinar has consistently been one of caution, often highlighting the extreme risks associated with it as a speculative investment. The creation and dissemination of this specific redemption center myth are not random. It is a carefully crafted piece of psychological engineering designed to exploit hope and bypass critical thinking. It serves several key purposes for those perpetuating it. Firstly, creates a veneer of legitimacy, attaching a wildly speculative currency to the rock-solid reputation of a premier financial institution. Secondly, it creates urgency, implying that you must have your dinar ready now because the process is already organized and waiting. But most disturbingly, this story acts as a powerful shield against the most common and logical question posed to dinar investment promoters. If this is such a sure thing, how and where do I actually cash out? By providing a seemingly concrete answer, Chase Bank, they effectively sidestep this critical hurdle, making the entire investment premise feel more complete and less risky to a potential buyer. The reality of how a legitimate, large-scale currency exchange would work for a sovereign nation's currency is far less glamorous and much more complex. It would involve official international agreements, a structured process through primary dealers and central banks, and a public, transparent announcement from the Central Bank of Iraq itself. It would not be a secretive rollout handled through select retail bank branches. Understanding this fundamental disconnect is the first and most crucial step in protecting yourself, not just from potential financial loss, but from the profound emotional letdown that follows when a deeply believed promise fails to materialize. The story of the Chase Bank Redemption Centers is a modern financial folktale, a myth built for the internet age, and its persistence tells us far more about the power of belief than it does about the future of the Iraqi dinar. So if the Chase Bank redemption story is a carefully constructed myth, a narrative designed to create a false sense of security and inevitability, we are inevitably forced to confront the real, raw, and unvarnished engine that keeps this entire speculative ecosystem alive, the relentless 24/7 cycle of so-called intel and news that floods your social media feeds and inboxes. This is the second layer of the phenomenon, the digital lifeblood that sustains hope long after logical analysis would have suggested moving on. We must now pull back the curtain on this intricate information economy, a self-perpetuating world where the very concept of news has been redefined away from verified reporting and into the realm of prophecy, interpretation, and coded language. The players in this space are not traditional journalists. They are gurus, insiders, and decoders who have built entire platforms and revenue streams on their ability to interpret the slightest tremor in the geopolitical landscape as a surefire sign that the revaluation, RV, is just hours or days away. They speak in a specialized lexicon filled with terms like Tier 4B, Nazara Jasara, the rainbow currency, and asset-backed currency resets, creating a linguistic barrier that separates believers from outsiders and reinforces a sense of being part of an enlightened inner circle. Intel they provide is almost never a direct falsifiable statement like the Central Bank of Iraq announced a new rate of 3.47 today. Instead, it is a labyrinth of implications. A meeting between a U.S. undersecretary and an Iraqi minister is not a routine diplomatic engagement. It is a secret session to finalize the RV rate. A minor update to the CEFT international banking system is not about improving security. It is the activation of the new digital dinar platform. A vague, positive statement from an Iraqi official about the country's economic future is not political posturing. It is a coded message to the dinar community that the event is imminent. This constant stream of interpreted signals creates a state of perpetual anticipation, a psychological conditioning that keeps investors locked in a cycle of excitement and letdown. Each new date that passes without event quickly being replaced by another, more urgent one, often accompanied by explanations of last-minute delays from shadowy cabals or financial elites trying to suppress the global financial liberation that the RV will bring. This is a crucial psychological component. By framing setbacks as the actions of a villainous opposition, the gurus position themselves and their followers as brave heroes in a grand struggle, making disengagement feel like a betrayal of a righteous cause. The business model underlying this is starkly transparent yet incredibly effective. The free news updates and YouTube videos serve as a lead generator, building an audience of highly engaged and emotionally invested followers. Once trust is established, the real monetization begins. Paid subscription services for premium intel, exclusive webinars that promise to reveal the true timeline, expensive mentorship programs, and of course, the constant subtle or sometimes overt encouragement to buy more while you still can at these historic lows from affiliated currency dealers. This creates a perfect closed-loop system. The gurus sell the dream creates demand for the currency purchases enrich the dealers, who often have indirect ties to the promotional ecosystem. And the entire machine is fueled by the collective hope of thousands of individuals dreaming of a better life. It is a self-referential economy where the primary product being sold is not the dinar itself, but the certainty of its future value, a certainty that is perpetually just out of reach. To understand why this is so effective, we need to look at the powerful cognitive biases at play. Confirmation bias ensures that believers actively seek out and overweight any information that supports their desired outcome, while dismissing contradictory evidence as disinformation or fear-mongering. The sunk cost fallacy, both financial and emotional, makes it incredibly difficult to walk away after years of investment and belief. And the sheer volume of the information, the daily torrent of videos, posts, and analyses, creates an illusion of credibility through repetition and consensus within the bubble. Stepping outside of this echo chamber is the single most important thing an investor can do, because from the outside, the pattern is painfully clear: a near total divorce from official, verifiable data from the IMF, the US Treasury, or the Central Bank of Iraq, and a complete reliance on an internal, self-serving narrative that cannot be proven wrong, only delayed. This is the true anatomy of the dinar news cycle, a masterpiece of sustained speculative energy that has less to do with Iraq's actual economic progress and everything to do with the timeless human desire for a sudden, transformative solution to life's complexities. This brings us to the ultimate, and perhaps the only, question that truly matters now: where do we go from here? Having dismantled the myth of official redemption centers and exposed the internal machinery of the rumor cycle, we are left standing at a crossroads between a deeply entrenched narrative and a far more complex, less glamorous reality. The path you choose next will define not only your financial future, but also your relationship with information itself. Let's be unequivocally clear about the documented, verifiable reality of the Iraqi dinar as an investment vehicle, stripping away all hope and focusing solely on the track record and statements from the only entities whose opinions carry any official weight. The Central Bank of Iraq has repeatedly focused on achieving monetary stability, controlling inflation, and modernizing its financial systems, laudable and necessary goals for any nation rebuilding from decades of conflict. Their public communications consistently address these pillars of economic policy. They do not engage with, hint at, or acknowledge the concept of a near-term exponential revaluation that would instantly create a global wave of millionaires. In fact, for such an event to occur, it would require a set of economic conditions that are the direct opposite of stability. It would instantly make Iraq one of the richest nations on earth per capita overnight, hyperinflating the cost of all its goods and services, and effectively destroying its nascent export economy. From the international perspective, institutions like the International Monetary Fund advise Iraq on fiscal responsibility and debt management, not on facilitating a global wealth transfer. The historical precedent is also starkly illuminating. The world of currency speculation is littered with similar stories of revaluation hopes surrounding currencies like the Vietnamese dong or the Zimbabwean dollar, all following an almost identical pattern of promotional hype and profound disappointment for the retail investors who bought in at the worst possible time. The fundamental economic principle at play is that a currency's value is a reflection of a nation's economic productivity, stability, and global trade standing. It is not a lottery ticket that can be arbitrarily given a winning number.